Alrighty, everyone, welcome back. We're going to start this run a bit earlier than it shows on the schedule because it's a randomizer, which means there's a lot of stuff that can be shown off. And we've got Lotus and Soap here for this run.
Hello everyone, I am Lotus. I am the main host of the Wario Land 3 Randomizer races. And we are going to be playing a maximized settings seed. So we will be explaining that once we get the go-ahead to start the run. But alongside me is my commentator, Soap Agent.
Hi, I've played a few randomizer seeds, and I have speedrun Wario Land 3, the base game, a lot.
Alright, and I should also note that I'm also the record holder for the Vanilla Games 100% category, which involves getting every chest and every music coin.
And I'm the former world record holder, a shameless plug.
But still is a very good runner. But with that said, I think we should be ready to go here. So, we'll get started in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, begin. So, we are going to play out this cutscene because there is a lot to explain right away. And you probably noticed that we've got some items immediately enabled on the tracker. That is intentional because of the settings we are using. So the first setting we have is the removal of the junk items. There are 100 total chests in the game, but 26 of them do absolutely nothing. So by just taking those out, we have brought it down to 74. We have given ourselves the QOL starter kit, which gives us 2 items that allow us to look at what chests are available in each stage, and allow us to change the day and night cycle at will, because some stages are predicated on having a specific time of day. We have Powerful Start, which gives us 3 random power-ups right at the start, but we don't know those yet. Funny music. That'll be explained too. But the items you see enabled on the tracker, those are part of the open mode starter kit. We get 7 items there to start out, and this opens up the 4 sections of the map. So we have access to north, south, east, and west right away. And that means the maximized number of chests is 62. But we'll go through the rest of this. But this is not the end of things, because as you can see, we normally start in the north region, but we have E4 right there. So we're going to first spend a couple minutes here to gather a bit of information. So we just need to know what stages we have right now. And we also want to know the power-ups we're starting with, which are boots, garlic, and the helmet. And that's the golden glove, we don't want that. That's slippers, we don't want that. But this is an effective map shuffle. So this shuffles the stages amongst each other. There's Key Shuffle, which shuffles the locations of the keys and music coins right away. So we don't know where they are right away. But we're going to continue marking it. But the most notable thing here is the difficulty. There are 5 levels of difficulty, and we are playing the top difficulty. There's easy, normal, hard plus minor glitches, and then merciless. So we are playing the merciless seed. The merciless difficulty, that is. Now, I will have Soap explain those difficulties, so then I can get things marked off on our tracker.
Yeah, so, the first 3 difficulties don't involve glitches at all. Easy generally will put you in positions where you can easily clear levels. There are a couple of levels that are kind of difficult if you don't have a lot of power-ups. Like the platforming is more difficult or more frustrating, so it won't have you be doing those levels super early. Normal doesn't have any restrictions on that, but also doesn't have you do any like super obscure mechanics or like setups with enemies or that kind of thing. And then hard has you doing things like mid-air enemy bounces, which is not an intended mechanic. Then with minor glitches, you add wall clipping, which is just a way to get up one tile higher, or 2 tiles in some cases, on certain ledges. And then there's Merciless, which also has some very difficult wall clips, and certain tricks such as camera scrolling, which requires basically mashing down on ladders or doing other things like that. Basically some obscure and very difficult mechanics will be shown most of the time in a Merciless seed.
And the reason why we can't just call Merciless hard plus major glitches is because there's actually a Merciless execution that doesn't use any glitches, it's just way too difficult. Oops, now we want to actually get lit ablaze here. The reason why we're not trying to do things right away is because we need to gather information. In a randomizer, information is power, so the more information you can get right away, the better. And the fact that we found the gray key right there is a great sign. Just gonna count this up. Perfect.
Yeah, fire's on a timer that only advances when you're on the ground, so if you're jumping it pauses it, or if you're like falling off a ledge. So you want to make sure that you get set ablaze in the right spot and, you know, jump at the right time, basically.
So I will explain the items that we have here. So we just got the scissors. So that doesn't do anything by itself right now. We don't have the stage yet, but we can go right back in.
Yeah, something worth mentioning is there's 4 different colors of keys and chests per level. In this case, we don't have the colors randomized because usually it just makes things difficult. But basically, one key goes to one chest, so like the gray key goes to the gray chest, and the gray chest in Randomizer is always in the same spot, and red chest, etc. But the keys, because we're playing on key shuffle, can be shuffled with each other or shuffled with music coins, which are normally a bonus collectible into the base game.
Now I just did a trick there called an instant ignite, so that just lets us instantly get set ablaze. And then we'll just get past.
Yeah, and one kind of limitation of the game engine, but also just like something good to know for Randomizer, is that if there's a key in a room, there can't be any other keys in that same room. So if you, like, for example, Lotus found the green key earlier in that first room, which means that nothing else in there was a key. It was only coins.
Yep, and anytime something else loads, that is a different region, so that is a good indication. Now, we just got the Rain Cloud Jar, which unlocks 2 stages in the West region. We had access to what is normally at stage W4, but we just got W3 and W2, and I don't know why I am using the owl. I have no reason to. So this is the first of up to 12 golfs that we could have to do, and this is an RNG base. And I actually did not explain that I enabled Golf Shuffle as well. But Golf Shuffle shuffles the golf holes that are available, and I messed that up, but we can recover it.
Yeah, so there's 20 different golf holes or courses in the game. Normally, like in the base game, like playing levels, you only see up to 15 of them. And also, when you're starting out a playthrough, you'll only see the first 5, because there's 3 difficulties, and they scale as you get more chests. So as you get 25 chests, you'll have the medium ones, and as you get 50 chests, you'll get the hard ones.
And it is worth keeping in mind that because of the starter kits that we gave ourselves right away, we actually started with 12 chests right out of the gate. So we only have 13 chests before we reach that 25 threshold. Now I just set up a glitch there. This is called the rolling glitch. But what we can do is we can use this to just break these blocks, because it considers us as if we were in a rolling state when we're not, and we keep that as long as we don't collide into a wall. But there's our red key. So that means we can get the red chest safely. And because we still have the rolling glitch, we can actually do this. The reason why I did a high jump there was just to see what that spot was, just in case it may have been the blue key. Luckily it was not. And that is the rust spray, which unlocks 3 different chests, but we don't have access to any of them yet. Now, the reason
so there's
why...
different kinds of unlocks in this game. The 2 main ones are like things that change something inside a level, like the rust spray makes these metal pillars turn into like rusted metal that you can break. And then there's things that unlock stages, like the rain jar earlier unlocks 2 entire stages, which you're seeing right now.
Yep. And we're actually going to head into one of them right now as well. Getting hit by fire there was fine, because the gray chest is available. But the more ideal case here would be if we could find the green key. Because if we can find the green key, we can get that chest. Something that we did not mention with the difficulties is that the higher levels of difficulty build upon the lower ones. So anything in the lower difficulties applies to the higher ones too. So there's a lot of things in logic. That isn't the best location for a gray key, but it is fine. I did not want to risk doing the early cycle there. Now I do want to see what that is. That is fine. So this is going to be a case where I'm going to be save scumming, because there's actually one other spot we can check, and I want to check that before I get the chest. But
yeah, you can just like save anytime you want in the base game. You just like, it remembers everything about you, like your position, your state, and everything. And so you can just soft reset with AB start select and go back to where you were. In this case, it's useful in rando if you want to check a kind of far out location, but then go back to an earlier branching path.
And in this case, we do want to go back into N5 after we clear this. So, now I could have gone for the green chest right away, but because I already have the gray key, it's better to just get that chest. Now I mentioned the day and night cycle, but this is one of those chests that will be influenced by it, because you can only get the green chest at night. So this is the case where we're going to take advantage of that QOL to go right back to night. Now unfortunately, we got probably the worst spot where that key could be. Because if we had flippers, we would be able to do this without having to get sprung up. But we don't have flippers. So do you want to explain the 2 types of scrolling that is available in Merciless?
Yeah, so the one we're alluding to right now is water scrolling, which will scroll the camera slowly up. And the other one is ladder scrolling, which scrolls the camera down. And basically, both of them put the camera in a state where it's loading objects that are on a different screen, but Wario's position relative to background tiles is the same. So you'll interact with the same walls and doors and that kind of thing, but keys and enemies will be either transposed up or down. So in that case, if you water scrolled, that would scroll the camera up to where that coin or key location was, and you could get that key early.
Now you probably saw that I just did a wall jump there. That is what allows me to get the green chest without the item that we would otherwise need. Also, I know that I kind of glossed over the jackhammer, but the jackhammer, we don't have access to the stage that unlocks something in, so it doesn't matter. But this is the first power-up that we have officially gotten from a chest, and in this case it is the red glove. This lets us perform throwing on small enemies, and this also lets us perform the mid-air enemy bounces that Soap mentioned with hard logic.
Yeah, so every time you get a power-up, it plays this cutscene, and we can't skip it. The rando has a quality of life feature where it skips almost all of the cutscenes, but that one is kind of complicated. Power-ups kind of mess with the game when they play their cutscenes, so as of now we don't know of a way to skip those cutscenes, even with modifying the game, unfortunately.
Now, this is a case where I'm gathering a bit of information, because I want to see if I can get the red key. The blue key, the green key that we just got doesn't make a difference right now. We don't have the item we need to get to the chest. But since we know that there's a region beyond, we don't want to go there if we can help it. And that is just a coin, so we don't care. But there is still one other spot we can check. And it has nothing to do with the rust ray. We actually need a different power-up to access what we need there. So we just need to make sure that we get by these. There we go. Alright. So we can do a high wall jump right here. We actually just found our red key, so that's perfect. Because that means we can get the red chest.
As we're navigating back, I'll explain wall jumps, I think. So,
yep.
Basically, Wario's walking speed is a constant 2 pixels per frame after some acceleration at the start. But his dashing speed is based on a speed table that oscillates between 2 and 3 pixels per frame. If you stop your dash by turning around, then when you go into the falling state after jumping, that will recall the next value. So basically, you can make Wario go 2 or 3 pixels immediately. But the game will only check if you're going to collide 2 pixels away, because it's used to your walking speed, which is 2 pixels, not your dashing speed, because it doesn't think you're in a dash anymore. So basically, you can clip 1 pixel into a wall, and if there's space above your head, you can do a jump out, or otherwise, like, get up a ledge that you shouldn't be able to.
So we're actually about to perform a trick that is in hard logic. Normally you need red overalls to do this, but if you have boots, then you can do it without it. But I have to be careful, because I don't want to be messing with that. Perfect. So we're in the spot. Now we just need this donut tier up here to feed us. And then from there we can navigate to the red chest. So we'll just let that play out. You can't get a chest while you're in a reaction state, so there's nothing you can do about that. You have to wait it out. But that is our first music box. And I actually did not explain the temple hints, because temple hints are also active too. So if you hold up while next to it, you can actually see where your next important progression is, because it's set to quest item. And in this case, it's in E3, which we just found at S2.
Yeah, that's a rando specific thing. That temple hint still exists in vanilla, but it normally just points to the next item in the progression of 50 chests, and then into the chests that you get after beating the game. In this case, it only points to, I think it's 9 specific things.
8.
That you need in order to complete the 8 things that you need to complete a rando seed, which is the 5 music boxes, the axe, and a couple power-ups that are required for the final boss.
Yep. It will point to the axe first, but we start with the axe, so it will skip that one. That's just a clip that will save time. After the axe, it points to the 5 music boxes, and then it points to the power-ups if you don't already have them. But there's our second music box, and that actually unlocks another stage. But we're going right back in because there's more we can check here. So, with a wall jump, if you time it properly, you can enter the hallway earlier than intended. Now we could do this because we have access to the daytime here, but if we didn't, then we would have to use the wall clip. But we just got a key, and that is a blind one, so we don't know what it is without pausing. But in this case, it is blue, so that is perfect.
Yeah, in this specific level, all the chests are accessible if you have a glove and can do the switch puzzles, because they're just like in these side rooms, but the keys have more requirements than that.
Now, we kind of glossed over this silly wall jumping that we're doing, but certain reactions, such as Zombie Wario, cannot be crouched. When you're normally clipped into a wall, you're actually crouched. But because Zombie Wario cannot be crouched, you can just jump up and rapidly scale a wall. It is worth keeping in mind that you can't go too high there because otherwise you will get stuck. And you don't want to get stuck. So that's why
this game has some pretty deep out of bounds. Most of it is not super useful, but if you find some way to get out of bounds like that, it can be fun to explore.
So I just got the Stone Foot, which opens up a couple of other items, but one thing that we did not check was W2, and it's actually a good thing we did not, because there's a lot of things now that we can access. But we are heading to S1 first, because this could potentially have what we need. And in this case, we just found the blue key very quickly. This is the only chest we can actually get, but we could have accessed all other checks. So we don't really need to check anything else here. Whoop. You don't want to get hit by those birds. The reason why I'm going to go into this side room is because I want to make sure there's no gray key. And this is just in the case that I have to come back here. But luckily it's not, so we can go into here. And this is where the blue chest is. And we actually want to be fed an apple burst. Fittingly, the name of those enemies that just fed us are Applebee's. So, yep, there you go. Now, I did not explain Music Shuffle, but there are 3 types of Music Shuffle that are available. You can have it off, which just has all the music as vanilla. You could have it on, which shuffles the music, but it won't have more occurrences than what is in the base game. But we're playing with Chaotic Music Shuffle. And Chaotic Music Shuffle basically has no rhyme or reason. And I'm being kind of peculiar with how I do this because I do want to make sure that I can get both enemies out of there, but unfortunately that's not going to happen. So I'm just going to reload the room. If you mess it up, just reload the room.
Yeah, generally enemies will just reset to their original positions when you reload a room. There are some enemies that will actually respawn if you just unload them by scrolling the screen, by walking or whatever. But in general, they'll just, even if you kill them or whatever, they'll respawn when you reload.
There. And then once we get out of this reaction state, we will be at the blue chest. Now we just saw the green key, but we also saw that the green chest contains nothing, so it's taken out of play. We don't need it. And that is zombie blood, which does not make a difference in this scene, because normally that unlocks the blue chest inside of E7, which is where we're heading. But the E7 blue chest was also taken out of play.
That's a nice vanilla gray key.
Yes, it is. I did intentionally charge to the wall because it gives you a little period of time where you're actually floating in the air. And that enables you to more easily reach the ladder, so you can climb it faster. Now we can actually jump off that, and that's actually a very good shortcut that you can only do with boots. So, shoutouts to Boots Start.
Yeah, boots are one of the nicest items to have in the game, because they just enable a lot of mobility, and being able to bounce on enemies is nice, and especially when you have the glove and can do mid-air enemy bounces.
The only unfortunate part was that the gray chest there contained a blue eye, which does nothing for us. Now, because we have the stone foot, we can actually head into E1. So, there's a lot of checks we can see here. And actually, there's only one we cannot actually obtain, based on what we have. We don't need the gray key, so we can completely skip that. Now, we can't actually obtain both chests because we don't have required power-ups for the other one. We don't have flippers or overalls. But we can get the green. Because the green key is here, we just have to use the pulleys to get across.
Yeah, unfortunately there's not a way to get this with a glitch or anything. You have to do this puzzle.
And if
It's,
you
not,
end
it's
up,
hardly a puzzle, it's just, you know, doing the zip lines.
and if you mess it up like I did, then you have to go all the way back to the start. So don't jump off that downwards one too late, because otherwise that'll happen. There we go. I almost choked that anyways. But we didn't. But the access to the green chest is this way. Now, under normal conditions, whoops, I did not want the mouse robot chasing me, so that's why I went in there. No other reason, just to make sure that was not loaded. Oop. So we're going to do a high wall jump right there. And that's the blue key, that does not make a difference. We're going to save right here just in case we mess up. But we're going to perform a wall jump to skip this boss fight. Oop. There will be a point where it will just be faster to just do the boss.
Yeah, that clip is a little funny because it's like just out of view of the camera, so it's kind of hard to get a good visual on it. And, you know, that always happens in runs. You just fight the boss, but then you get the wall clip right after beating the boss anyway. It's kind of funny.
Yep, that's what I was trying to do. But unfortunately we didn't get it, but didn't matter in the end. We will head inside W4. We can actually potentially get all 3 chests here right away. But we just need good locations. So
It's nice that the green chest is not in the seed because W4 green is one of the slowest and generally most annoying chests in the game.
I always get that check first just in case it's a key in key shuffle because it's in the main area. And fortunately, because it was the gray key, we can go right to the gray chest. We don't need to check anything else with that. Typically, if you can clear all of the chests in one shot, then number one, you should. But you can just look for a key and then find what we need. Now, we just got the second key card, but we don't have the stage that unlocks something in. But it could come into play later. But the next thing we're going to check here is we're going to check the normal vanilla path for gray. In this case, getting the coins is fine because they are worth 10 coins and we need coins to do golf. Now, we just found the red key, which is exactly what we're looking for. This is another
to the point
case
of golf earlier. I mentioned how the golf difficulty scales, at least with normal golf logic, but the cost also scales. So at first it costs 10 coins, but once you're in the medium, then it costs 30, and then when you have 50 chests and it's hard courses, then it costs 50 coins, which is kind of a lot of coins. So if you do end up having to do a lot of golf, like in the back half of the seed, it's better to have front-loaded the coins, basically.
Now, in that case, you saw a very quick save scum that I just did. That was for the same reason as in the start. It was to see if we could find the blue key, which we didn't, but that's okay. Now, even though we did not find the blue key, that does not mean that we can't potentially still get the chest. And this is going to be where a merciless trick comes in. Because we mentioned ladder scrolling at the start, as a part of Merciless, this is going to be a case where we're going to try that. Now, I will disclaimer this right now. Ladder scrolling is very difficult. Now, I don't know why I didn't do the enemy bounce. That is a faster way up. But, oh well, too late now.
Yeah, so ladder scrolling, as I said, it's a rhythmic thing. Basically, you want to be going down a ladder for 4 or fewer frames, and then stay off the ladder for 3 or fewer frames. And every frame you're going down the ladder, the screen scrolls down 1 pixel. And as long as you don't like release down for too long, then the screen won't scroll back up fast enough to catch up with you.
Now, unfortunately, I did not quite get it, and it's very, very difficult to keep it in a rhythm. So I'm just going to see. Perfect, we found the blue key, so it doesn't matter. The reason why I checked...
You can keep trying ladder glitch as long as you want, but I would understand not wanting to because it's kind of strenuous and not very rewarding if you can't get it.
Yeah, it's a very strenuous trick if you're not too familiar with it. But it isn't Merciless because ladder scrolling has 2 different potential uses. We mentioned kind of having the glitch terrain, where you are actually still at the same spot, but you can use the screen wrap effect to obtain a check that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. But the second effect of ladder scrolling is that you can unload objects, and normally there's a frog that is in the way that if we ladder scrolled, we would be able to unload it. The reason why we're dashing left into the spoiler is because it is faster.
Yeah, you might have saw it in that one instance, but Wario just does a short recoil, which we can skip, because basically Wario's dash hitbox extends a little bit behind him, even though, like, he's dashing forwards.
And there we go. And a funny thing about the blue chest in this stage is that even though under normal conditions you're not able to access it without the key, because of its vanilla key location, you actually have access to the chest immediately upon actually gaining access to the stage. Now, the freeze cane right now doesn't do anything for us, but that could change. And then, once again, we're using the temple hint to get the location of our 3rd music box. Now, we're heading into W2. So, normally this is where your first boss is, and good thing we just found that great key, because it means we can actually do a kind of a funny. Because we started with boots, we can completely skip this boss fight.
Yeah, this doesn't even require a glitch or anything. You can wall clip to skip this boss without boots, but it's pretty difficult. Like, more difficult than a lot of what you'd see in Merciless even.
And it's because you can't pause during a boss fight. Now, if you saw there, we actually just saw the red key. Now, it may not seem like we can get it, but we can actually access the red chest now, because we have a glove and boots. And this is actually a trick that was discovered not very long ago. But the trick is called wheelsless. But we need the key first.
Yeah, the game gives you a coin if you fail the boss. It's kind of just a funny little tease, I guess. But if you have boots, you don't even need to interact with the boss at all. You can just jump up those platforms.
And then we have to climb this ladder pretty slowly. Good thing we just found that green key, so if we have to go there, we can. But first things first is that I need to align with the proper spot, and that is the proper spot. And we're saving right here just in case we mess this up. This is a very difficult trick. So we have to do a very big running dash jump wall clip. So it's a very precise jump, and you have to very precisely time a left input into a pause. So that is right, but I mistimed the jump. So
Dash jump clips work on the same principle as wall clips that you would do from just dashing along the ground, because the speed oscillation it's the same
There we go, we got
when
it.
you're dash jumping. But because you're in the air, you start moving immediately. Normally Wario has a turnaround animation on the ground, but because you start moving immediately, you need to press left or back for 1 frame only. And then you need to press on the next frame. Well, not always on the next frame, but you do need to press it afterwards, the forward direction. In this case, you do need to press it on the next frame because otherwise you fall down too far and you can't actually clip high enough to touch that.
And I did that second suspend save, just in case I messed that part up, because you really only have 1 shot at that, and you really don't want to.
Yeah, it's kind of a treacherous room.
Yeah, you really don't want to redo that wall clip if you can help it. But we just found S4, and we don't need to worry about the green chest, which is very good. The only problem is because we don't have overalls, we can't clear this place out in 1 shot. And this assumes we find all 3 keys that we need.
We also don't have flippers, so we can't show off the little shortcut at the beginning. There's this, like, arc that you saw Lotus do to go through those breakable blocks, but you can just use flippers and dodge the currents, basically, by jumping out of the water repeatedly.
And actually, I have no reason to go over there right now, because I can't actually obtain anything there. I need overalls to do it. But I can obtain what we need here. And this basically has to have a key. But it's not going to be at the first spot, it'll be at the second. And in this case, it is red, which is the best case scenario. Because we're already on the way to the red. Now, I don't think I'm going to be able to get that. I'm not going to be able to get that. That Numa was way too far away.
That is one of those enemies that reloads when you go off-screen from it, but because of the current at the bottom, we still have to kind of make a trip to get back.
At the very least, it can't be said I didn't try. And then we'll just do a damage boost right there to reach the chest. You can't actually just do a dash, but I'm not too comfortable with it, and I'd rather not mess it up. So, but there's our 3rd music box. And that actually gives us access to 3 stages, because we have garlic at the start. But our 4th music box is at the stage that is at whichever stage that has E5. But W1 is at N4, S6 is at N5, and then finally we have N2. Now I'm going to actually start with N2, because if we get good key locations here, we can't clear out the green, unfortunately, because we need overalls to do that. A lot of stages tend to be cursed by overalls, and that one is no exception. But we're not out of options yet, so because we have boots, we can just high jump. There's our red key. And that is a chest we can access. But before I do, I want to get the colored coin because it is worth 10.
There are some colored coins that are random from blocks. Or, I mean, I guess, all blocks could have a random colored coin, but there are some that are, like, predetermined. They're just coded in the game's, like, tile set to be that way. So that one in particular, you just break it and it always has a colored coin in it.
Now, I tried to actually do a wall clip there to skip needing that second donut, but unfortunately didn't get it. If you can get it, it saves about 10 seconds, so it's worth going for. You don't lose anything if you miss. Now, the Wire Wizard could be handy, because that actually gives us something in S3. S3 I typically call the worst stage in a randomizer, because there's so little you can access at the start.
Yeah, both the red and the blue chest are gated behind these two snake eyes, or two pairs of snake eyes. So you need 2 treasures to get each one of them minimum. And the green chest additionally has the requirement of the Wire Wizard, which we already have, but that one also just you can't do anything without it. And the blue chest additionally requires the Wire Wizard, so that has 3 requirements technically, not even counting all the power-ups you would need.
And if you weren't playing on the level 4 difficulty, then it would actually have 4 required power-ups. Because it would require garlic, boots, the helmet, and the golden glove. Now, I glossed over the pedal, and I'm going to be glossing over gems right now as well. But that is part of a 3 set of items. And we don't have access to the third one. But those 3 items, when combined, trigger the volcano eruption. You've probably seen the volcano in the background in our stage select. That's where that'll come into play. Ooh, we just found the blue key, but unfortunately we can't access what we need there. Yeah. Fortunately, there is no health system, so you don't have to worry about any kind of game over, except against the final boss. And actually, I should really come back into the stage at night. There's a couple of other checks we can access.
Yeah, during the night, there's this quicksand. Or I guess there isn't this quicksand. During the day there is.
Now, unfortunately, it was 2 coins, but that's alright. Now, if I wanted to, I could have actually ladder scrolled that, too. But sometimes it's better to just go through it during the night. So, there's a red key, and it's vanilla, which is not good, because we don't have access. I would have been happy to see a red key there, if we had the red chest available, but we don't. That's kind of the issue with W1. Its gimmick is that there are 2 sets of ruins, and you can only access one of them if you do not have garlic, but luckily we do. Now, we can't actually do anything there, which is sad. But we can access S6. And we have options here because we have access to the scissors. The scissors opens up access to a part in the upper section. Now, I better not screw this up.
The main gimmick of S6 is that it's a big vertical level with these fading cloud platforms. Normally they're the same color, but with the palette shuffle, they do technically use a different palette, because that's just how the fading works. And so you can tell which sets of clouds are going to be on which cycle.
We just got the blue key, so you might think we can't actually get the blue chest because there's another item we need, and you can't actually access the blue chest under normal conditions, but we're going to show something that is in merciless logic right here. So,
fun fact, this is the biggest thing that I discovered for vanilla. It saves several minutes in all chests 100%.
And it's absolutely worth going for. So if you jump up normally, this is where you go. But if you do it right here, so in this case, we have it loaded right now. Normally there's an invisible block, but for some reason, if you do a suspend save, which automatically stops resets, it becomes unloaded, and we just wrong warped into the moon. And this means we could just get...
Yeah, the reason that works is just because the game determines where to warp you based on the camera position, and... well, not the camera position, the which sector Wario is in. And if you just touch the top of that warp tile with your toes, then the game thinks you're in the sector above, which doesn't have a defined warp. And so it just pulls from different level data, and it coincidentally happens to put us there.
Now, it may
If
seem
you do
weird
that,
mind if
if you do that during the night when you have the item
Yeah.
for the blue chest, then it actually puts you in just a garbage room, like a glitch room that you can't do anything with, and you'll be soft locked unless you just get out of the level.
So we're doing the wrong warp again. This time it's because it's faster than scaling the clouds. Ooh, there's a red key. Perfect. So I'm actually glad we found the red key, because we can do another thing. So normally you're supposed to break this block, but if you time this right, you can actually get through without the helmet. There we go, we got it.
This enemy bounce is a bit different from normal ones because that block changes the enemy's trajectory, so you have to time when you press right. Normally you just hold right and buffer the A press, so it's very easy to do midair enemy bounces. But in this case, it's just a slightly different setup. And that skips having to travel around the main room again and go into the left half of that room to get to the chest.
The reason we're doing the golf this time is because the golf is what unlocks access to the green chest. So.
Yeah, if you end up going up to the green room and you didn't do golf, you'll be sad because then you have to go all the way back down. It's not quite so bad when you have the wrong warp shortcut because that saves most of the cloud platforming, but it still means you have to, waste like a minute or something.
There's actually a little tip you can do in the room in question. I need to get up there first to show it. But once again, we're going to go for the wrong warp. And we messed it up, but that's okay. It's very quick to retry if you end up missing the wrong warp, so. You could just jump over. Ooh. I also should mention that we did get the horn earlier, and that actually triggered the volcano eruption. That gives us access to 2 more stages. And this also means we don't need the second item that goes alongside the freeze cane that we got earlier. But the tip here is, you have to be Zombie Wario to do this, but if you see a coin right there, then you know you have to go further down. But if you don't see anything there, that's actually a sign that that is where the key is. So you could stop being Zombie Wario earlier, but because it was a coin, nothing we could do about that.
Yeah, despite coins and keys having the same hitbox, coins have a larger visual sprite, and so it extends a little bit to the left, and you can see it sometimes in like a couple locations just barely off screen. Also, it's worth noting that the coins turn green when you turn into Zombie Wario. That's just because key shuffle requires more palettes to be freed up in the game, so it just the developer decided to remove the default coin palette, which is more yellow, and just make it use Wario's palette, which dynamically changes based on your reaction. So they're a little bit paler because they're Wario's skin color, and also they have that fun effect of just mimicking your reaction.
Also, shoutouts to Vanilla Green Key, and that blue ring does nothing for us right now. Let's see. So now we're going to go to the stages that we just unlocked, and in this case we're going to start with E5 because that guaranteed has a music box. Ooh, this is actually interesting. We have 2 key cards, so there's something unique about that. Also, I should have just did the high wall jump there. But, okay, that's fine.
This level is supposed to be kind of confusing. It's one of the levels that's not required to be the main game, so it's kind of like a bonus. And it's just kind of confusing. There's these one-way doors and one-way warps, and you have to kind of figure out where everything goes. When I was casually playing, it took me a long time. Like, I don't think I really figured out where things went until I started speedrunning.
So, I'm being very peculiar with the blocks I break here, because this means I can check out both of those quickly. Now, it didn't have a key we were looking for, but that's okay. We can do a high wall jump right there. And that's a coin, so we don't care. But normally there's warp spots in the way, but we just got past that. It's always fun when you have a seed where you can just outsmart the void like that.
Yeah, I mentioned how there's one-way doors, so that doorway just goes to the same room, and then there's a place where a door would seem to be on the left, and that's where it takes you if you want to leave the room, so you can just go to the left of those. And the only reason that's really a thing is just because the game doesn't expect you to have the key cards before the item that gets rid of certain warps.
And that is the fourth music box. That doesn't unlock a stage for us though, but we can get that blue chest as well, because we found the blue key.
Yeah, so there's 5 music boxes, as we mentioned. The first 4 in the game progression unlock stages, and the last one it's the last one that you need, and it lets you beat the final boss. And it doesn't have any other effects besides that.
Once again, we're outsmarting the void. Because we need to get to that blue key, which is in here. Normally this is actually where you find the green key in the vanilla game, but T-Shuffle put the blue key there this time. Yep, and then the spots just warp you back to the start spot. So, that's what we were trying to do. And then, once again, I got the high wall jump there to save time. Whoop, careful. Just make sure you don't mess up platforming. Otherwise, you'll lose time unwittingly. Alright, and there we go, we got it. So, there's our blue chest. And our blue chest contains super flippers. So this is the upgraded version of the flippers, so now we can not only swim, but we can outswim currents.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, we didn't get the flippers like the normal ones at all. And the super flippers just kind of stack onto the normal flippers. If we were to get those now, they wouldn't actually do anything for us. So we can swim normally also.
Now, our final music box is in a stage we have access to. So, we're going to see if we can access that key right now. So, what we're going to do is we need to break those. Then we get under. And because we have super flippers, we could very quickly check both of those. And they're both keys, so it doesn't matter. So in that case, we have to swim all the way down. This is normally where the red chest is, so it is directly on the way. And in this case, perfect. Red key right next to the chest.
That's a very convenient location. Normally that's just a coin. The red key would be in a spot in that earlier room with the water.
But because we have the red key, we can guaranteed find the music box. Now, we can't actually finish the final boss, because we need the golden glove, and we can find that at E2, which we do not have access to yet.
We also need the overalls of some variety. Either one works.
Yep. I believe it points to the golden glove first, and then it'll point to overalls if you somehow still don't have them.
Yeah, it is uncommon to get a seed where you don't get them because they are the first power-up in the game. Not that that has much bearing on anything for Randomizer, but it does kind of gatekeep a lot of things in the game.
Now, I called S3 the worst stage in a Randomizer before, so this is the reason why. Also, I should have just did a wall jump that's actually available. Anyways, so we have to float very slowly upwards, and this leads to the only 2 locations that you actually can access if you don't have any of the required items. Now, we have the wire wizard, so we can check more than this, but we still have to check these 2 items first. And in this case, we found the blue key, not the green. Get the color. Always get the colored coin. Now I want to see if this is a key first. It is a key, so... but it's red. So, there's nothing we can do about that. And as you can see, it's just worthless again. And because we don't have anything else there, there's nothing else we can do in north. But we can go to west and south. And we're actually going to head to N4. So we unlocked this when we got the horn pedal and gems. This is what triggers the volcano eruption. But we can potentially access the chest we need. And the only one we don't care about is red. But because we just found the gray key, we could just collect the item and go right to the chest. And that's actually the best location that the gray key could be. Beanstalk seeds. That is very helpful. Because we didn't have much in W3, but now we do. And now, you want to explain the high jump water clip soap?
Yeah, so this wasn't known to be possible until several months ago. But basically, I'll explain water clipping first. So normally, when you're swimming, the game just processes your physics using separate code from your walking and airspeed and that kind of thing. So you can dash into water and it will remember what your next falling speed will be, and you can just jump out of the water at a specific pixel and clip that way. And
there we go.
You'll notice that when Wario is on the surface of the water, he does this kind of bobbing animation, so you want to jump out at the peak of that animation and clip as late as possible so that you get the max height there. And again, people didn't know that was possible, myself included, until Lotus figured it out.
Yep. I figured it had to be possible because there is a similar type of water clip used in a different stage. And we already actively do that in the vanilla game. And that's a nice blue key location. So, the torches are on a global cycle, so that's why we're trying to avoid it and make sure we stay on the same cycle. But we get ignited, and then just break the fire blocks and you've got the blue chest.
I'm not mistaken, we haven't seen the green key yet, and there are plenty of checks we can continue to do for
Yep.
that.
And because we can get the green chest, we are absolutely going back in right away.
Yeah, there's I think 4 different rooms that branch off from the main room, just like different doors inside these little hills here. And because they're individual rooms, they all have their own individual checks.
We skipped the first one because the first one contains the red chest, which we don't care about. The second one did not contain what we're looking for. The third one requires fire, because there are some blocks that are actually of a hidden attribute. These are hidden fire blocks.
I'm not really sure how you're supposed to find this out without like trial and error, just like accidentally getting set on fire and going to the left for some reason. I personally found it using a map when I was playing this game casually and getting all the coins.
And then the fourth one is the same as the second and first ones, with garlic. And also not what we're looking for. So it is in the vanilla room. And we knew that it couldn't be at the end because we already saw the gray key. So this is what we call French vanilla. Because normally the green key is in this room, but it's at the very end of the room.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. There's, I guess, 3 coins and 1 key in this room, which means that there's 4 different places. Although, again, because of the rule of only 1 key per room, only one of those is actually going to be useful, and you could just hope that it's not the last one.
Now this is actually a boss that you can do a kind of quick kill on. Yes, I did get it. I actually thought I dashed too early there. So. Missed time to jump on the dragonfly. If you
Yeah,
time
this
that...
boss is quite hard to do casually because if the cycle is not on a known cycle from doing the cheese, then you'll just have to guess at when to make that dragonfly thing, or whatever that creature is with the lips. You'll have to guess at when to make it drop the cheese. And if the fish touches you, if the dinosaur fish, Pesci, touches you, then you get kicked out of the boss arena. Again, with no health, the way that the game punishes you for messing up is just, it sets you further back. So if you mess up a boss, then you get sent out of the boss arena and have to retry.
So W3 is the next stage we wanted to, and this is the reason why we wanted to have beanstalk seeds. Now, I messed up the beanstalk room, so I'm just going to have to head back up there, unless I find a key. Which, good thing, I found the right key. So that means we could just go all the way to the end without really much of a care in the world.
You can get that key location in hard logic without the super flippers, but it's extremely annoying because there's a fish in the way that tries to damage you as you're like bonking yourself against the ceiling to gain a few pixels of progress.
It's actually because of that fish that's actually not in logic. The one in N5 is in logic, but that one is not.
Oh, my mistake. Yeah, it's very difficult, and I guess clearly not worth doing if it's not in logic.
Yeah. You can go out of logic, but it always has an innate risk and reward factor, so if you do it, you're knowingly taking the risk of it potentially leading nowhere. Now I'm trying not to mess up this room. Is this a key? That's a key. And it's gray. So we can get that too. But we can perform a mid-air enemy bounce. Normally you have to have overalls to do that, but you can do it with a mid-air enemy bounce if you have glove and boots, or if you have just boots, you could do it with a high dash jump wall clip. And the red ring at this point just opens up the connection between the locations in south. So unfortunately, we
Yeah,
don't
the way
have...
that like map unlocks work in this is basically the game just puts an arrow at a location and it lets you go that direction. But there are some items that will put a backwards arrow back to another level, so even though you don't have the like dot for that level unlocked, you can still go to it. And another side effect of that is that there's multiple items that can unlock certain levels, and in this case, we didn't need those 2 bull rings because we already had a different item that unlocked the S2 location.
And it's actually the first music box that does that.
Yeah, the intended way to get to S2 in this case.
Now we actually have a fun trick coming up here. This is another merciless logic, and I'm actually proud of this one because this is actually a glitch of my own discovery for the most part, but I call it fake pump. But it lets us reach the blue chest without needing the air pump and flippers. I'm doing a save here just in case I mess this up.
I'll be honest, I actually haven't seen this before. I'm curious how this does not count as out of bounds.
It's because it's actually a very quick one. I actually more classify it as a wrong warp. But what you can do is you can jump up these pipes, and then if you're in the right spot, you can press up, and you warp down here, then you can press up again, and you're suddenly in the blue chest room.
Okay, I understand. So it just works basically like the S6 one. You're just in a different version of the level, I assume.
Yep. And we're actually going to have to do that again, because we can access the green as well. And I'm really happy I found that, because it's so happy that I could add it to Merciless. And we just found the red overalls. So, I'll be honest with you, this power-up is busted. So, it is the upgraded version of the ground pound. It means you could break solid blocks with your ground pound, and you could break cracked blocks without getting stopped. But because we have red overalls now, we can do this without needing, and actually, I really should have this in the proper section. So actually, it should be fine as is. Whoop. Make sure you don't lose these paragooms, because they are vital too. They are
There's a
vital
question in chat, how do you even think of looking for something like that? The answer is just experimentation, finding an area where you can get above a level and seeing if it does something. You can use the level editor to see where like the boundaries of levels are, and it's just you have a goal in mind to try to find something, and maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. As I've explained, the out of bounds usually is not useful, but I guess in this case it is.
There are actually some areas of out of bounds that are very useful.
Yeah, S3 is not very helpful in Randomizer, but there's 2 very important pieces of out of bounds that can be used to get 2 chests in it early, and those 2 chests are required for game progression, and also getting them early skips quite a bit of the game.
Whoa.
And it makes any percent like half an hour faster.
I've never actually had it where I'm actually walking on the floor. That's the first time I've ever had that.
Oh, and it doesn't even do the animation. I guess it's confused because that is a water door. That's funny.
Yep. So yeah, that is something I've literally never had happen until now. Oh, and actually I have no reason to exit this. Now, the 2 checks in here they do require flippers if they do not contain the blue key. In this case, because it had the green key, we did need flippers to do it. And you just go right out of the block by doing so. If you don't have flippers, and you have to do that, then it actually will result in a soft block, so that's why. basically because it's impossible to do it without soft walking. Now, Wolfen Boss I call the worst boss of the game, because he's very slow in his attacks.
Yeah, he attacks on a global cycle, which, just like the fire cycle, can't really be manipulated unless you're like saves coming or something. And also these like dust flares are annoying, and the chestnuts that he throws with the Goomba enemies in them can hit you. This third one is the one to watch out for because it does some bounces afterwards. The first two are not as bad.
So as you can see, I ended up actually messing up the first one because I tried to go for a really aggressive shot, but missed it. And even if you have boots, dodging that chestnut is just dumb. It's just dumb.
Yeah, the ground shake makes it pretty difficult to act at all. It is possible, but good luck getting it when you're not prepared for it, which you wouldn't be because you would expect to not mess up, I guess.
There. Let's just mess around right here. I don't want to get hit by that one. If you actually get hit by one of those while wall clipped, then it actually is a soft block. Because when you get hit by anything that Wolfenbot does, he'll disappear. So
Yeah,
I have actually soft
no
blocked
way out
myself.
of this. And I don't think you can even pause either, so you have to soft reset.
Yep. Yeah, it's only the middle spot, though. That is the worst case scenario. Anywhere else doesn't really matter. And
Yeah,
this
you'll
time,
notice Lotus is staying on the edges of the screen. That's just because Wolfenboss will turn around to face you when he does the attacks, any of the attacks. And so you want the chestnut to just be as far away from you as possible.
yeah, I call it the worst boss because if you end up failing that, you lose a minute. So, ooh, that's the Purity Staff. That's actually a very handy item. So, we didn't see any black water, but the Purity Staff, well, purifies it.
Yeah, there's, I believe, 3 levels that have this black water in it, and there's doors inside the black water that, even though they use a different palette, and, like, you know, they're still rendered differently, you can't actually enter them even if you know where they are, so it's required to get these in order to access those rooms.
Probably noticed that I'm dashing a lot faster than you might expect, and that's just because if you time jumps, then you can easily get things faster.
Yeah, as with the boiler, Wario has recoil from bonking into a wall. And if you're in midair, it actually goes down only, whereas if you do it on the ground, then he'll go up and then down. So if you do it against the ceiling, then it's very fast to just have the downwards recoil.
Now, I'm going right here because I'm setting up a water clip. There we go, we got it. But that just lets us clip right through those blocks and get right to the chest. Unfortunately, that's the only chest we have to do in this stage. And it's the mirror. So, we're at a point where we want to just get things that unlock stages. Now, N3 being at E5 is not a good one. So this one we can just flat out ignore right now. We don't have what we need to get to the chest anyways. But now that
we're only one check away, or one item away from being able to do it, but even then, it's an entire level with all of its checks that we would have to do, only for one chest, and that chest is slow anyway. So hopefully we won't have to interact with it.
technically speaking, I could actually get to it with out of bounds. There's a very complicated out of bounds trick that lets you access it without needing the chemicals, but it's complicated and absolutely not worth it. Shout out to Destroyer for that one, because Destroyer was the one who discovered it.
Yeah, Destroyer discovered a lot of funny things for this game, like the silly little out of bounds or tricks that are useful in Randomizer. And also is a former world record holder for the all chests category.
And let's way too. Alright, so this actually has a little bit of fun movement tech if you can execute it right. If you have the golden glove, but I don't. If you have the golden glove, then you can carry the hammer bot to the ledge on the left side and then bounce off both without turning into Spring Wario. There we go. So this is another boss fight, and this one is Yellow Belly. Oh, I thought I tried to buffer a jump there. If you jump into the spot that a door is on, and then you enter the door, you can buffer a jump. But unfortunately,
you can also do a frame perfect dash and also do a frame perfect jump after that frame perfect dash and do a dash jump. It's very not useful. There's one application for the buffered jump that I know of, which is just to get a coin out of a door that you normally can't get that way.
It is a very helpful one, though. It saves 20 seconds.
Yeah, if you remember the zipline puzzle from E1, where we got that key, there's a coin also like on the lower half of that, where you have to do more ziplining to get to normally.
Now we just completely glossed over the fire extinguisher. We have access to things in W6, but it's not what we're looking for. Whoa, what am I doing? Oh well. I did see a key in here. And that's going to be the one that we'll do. So the green key had to be in that spot that I just tried to get to. But let's just say I kind of messed up. It's alright, because we still need the green chest, the gray chest too. We can just get that instead. And you can jump out of the quicksand. So, it's never going to be a soft lock, don't worry. Oh hey, I hit the hammer bot on the upper level. That's only possible to do if you have the boots. So. But there's our gray chest. It's in the basement of the day ruins. All other chests are in the night ruins. And that is the second half of the Sunstone. That actually unlocks daytime now in the East region. We didn't have access to daytime there previously.
Yeah, the day-night cycle affects the north, west, and south maps at the beginning of the game. It just always will be day until you leave a level or use the day-night tile. But the east is normally just permanently night until you get those two items. And even if you have the day and night tile, you can't actually turn it into day, just because it blocks it basically.
Yeah, it will remember it for the other sections of the map, but east is just permanently night until you have those two items. And we have to do a golf here because this is what unlocks the green chest.
I don't know if we ever mentioned, but golf just makes these gray blocks slowly go up. You can bypass them with ladder scrolling if it's possible to ladder scroll in that room, but otherwise you just have to do the golf. There's not really a way around it.
And this room in particular, it is impossible to ladder scroll. And that's because of how the camera goes.
Yeah, there's two different scroll modes. You can always scroll horizontally freely, but vertical is it's either stepped or continuous. So as you can see, when Wario goes down, like, the bottom of the screen, it just scrolls down like that. Whereas in other rooms, it follows you and keeps you in the center of the screen. And those are the rooms that ladder glitching is possible in, because it will try to follow you while you go down the ladder.
There we go. At the very least, the good part is that by the time we access W1 again, we were able to get all 3 chests that were available. Unfortunately, nothing useful. The document doesn't do anything in our current state, and we're actually going to go to night because we found that green key earlier, and this is going to be a very quick chat. Oop, boy, the zombie.
Yeah, this green room here is just completely inaccessible unless you take a shortcut through the blue area, which is slower in this case because we're only trying to get to the green area, or unless it's nighttime.
And the door is only open during the night, so that's why. Whoa. Careful. These lights are also on a global cycle, so we're trying to avoid getting hit by those.
Yeah, you need to be invisible there to bypass that gate at the end of that room, and if you get, like, the light bulbs shoot out these electric flares that just turn you back to normal.
So the crater map is an item that unlocks a stage, but we don't have access to it yet. We need another pair of items to get what we need. And we still don't want to go into S3 because it's as worthless as ever. And we've already cleared out those. Sometimes just going in and just giving yourself a refresher is handy. So, if you ever see why I'm always holding B on those cases, that's why. It's just to get a quick refresher on what items we have gotten from that stage. Because we know what chests we've gotten, but sometimes you need to know what the items were too.
I feel like this kind of situation we're in right now happens a lot in Randomizer, where you're just looking for 1 or 2 more things, but the first few things were very fast to find.
Yep.
Like right now, we're only looking for the golden glove, and that's it. And we know which level it's in, but we can't really do that yet because we have to find other things like along the progression path to unlock that.
Now, because we have the super flippers, we can completely skip the boss fight here. So, let's just get him out of there. And that's the brick. So that unlocks another part in E3. And here's actually another kind of time-saving trick that you can do in a randomizer. So, I mentioned that we need the golden glove, because that is our last item. So, we can actually take out S3 blue from the equation, because there is no way that it can possibly have it. Because that actually requires...
Yeah, I guess I didn't consider that, because it requires the golden glove. It's one of, I think, 2 chests that require golden glove. Although, I guess with Merciless, one of those doesn't anyway.
There's E7 red, and S3 blue. There's W4 W4 green as well, if you are not playing Merciless. And there is actually a Merciless specific one in E5. And that's actually where the no glitch needed is. Because you can do what's called a double bounce. Double bounces are part of Merciless.
Yeah, they're very difficult. You have to set up 2 enemies such that you bounce off one midair, and then you bounce off the other while you're still going up.
Yeah. There we go. So we can clear out W5, because we have access to all items that we need here. There's the blue chemical, but because we have access to the chests, but we need to find the keys. So there's no guarantee on that yet. But I'm going to check here first because this does have 2 spots that we can gather intel on. And because it's in 2 different regions, they both could potentially be keys. There's our red key. But before we try to go for that, let's check the room here. Oop. Why is the blue key in the blue chest room?
That's funny. This is the only chest room that has a key in it, unless you count the gray chest room, because I guess that's in the main like zipline puzzle.
There's also N5. N5 has something in it as well, but it's normally
I meant in
blank.
this level specifically, but that is true. The thing is just, it's very forgettable, unless you're actively thinking about, oh yeah, there's a location to check in the blue chest room of W5.
Yep. Now, the air pump is kind of sad, because we already got both of the chests there. And it's actually kind of funny. So, I actually have a little bit of a story to tell. So, prior to the marathon, Soap and I did a kind of rehearsal practice seed. And I ended up having to deal with arguably the most difficult merciless trick, which is a trick called detonator skip. It actively skips getting the detonator, and it is done in E1, which is the stagnant swamp. And that blue chest contained the detonator. So I had to do detonator skip to get the detonator.
That was pretty good. Detonator skip requires clipping an enemy into a wall in a very specific position, and then hoping you get good RNG to like bonk it up to a higher specific position, and then you do a damage boost off it.
You have to do a double boost to get it. You have to do an enemy bounce into a damage boost.
Right. And clipping enemies into walls is not even really something that you explore much. Even with all the glitches that we're doing, it's not very useful at all, except in that really niche situation. I believe Destroyer was the one who found it, so shoutouts to him for that cursed piece of merciless logic.
Yep. But in a way, I'm glad he did discover it, because that meant it could be added. Right now, I know we mentioned the difficulties. There's only 5 levels. If we wanted to get really, really technical, we could get that up to 7 difficulties. But 2 of them would be utterly impossible. Well, 1 of them would be utterly impossible. The other one is just going to be very, very ridiculous. Because we mentioned out of bounds. Well, if we were to do a 6th difficulty, I would definitely be calling it boundless, just because it means without boundaries. And then that 7th difficulty would have been task, which would have been literally impossible to do unless you are doing tasks.
Yeah, there's a couple things that Task can do that we can't. One of those is just using turbo. I mean, we can do that if we cheat, I guess, but basically the effect of ladder scrolling also applies to just jumping for 1 frame, and if you repeatedly jump for 1 frame with turbo, then you scroll the screen down. And the other thing that Task can do is it can swim against currents without super flippers by pressing left and right at the same time, or up and down at the same time, and that allows for a couple of skips, including just skipping an entire portion of the game progression by not getting the super flippers.
So the reason why I exited E3 is because we can't access anything further there, and that actually means we can take E3 green out of the equation, because it strictly will be requiring the golden glove to get. We're not going to concern ourselves with that colored coin this time. We have enough. Damage boost there is completely fine. Yep. Now this is a very quick boss fight. And Funnily enough, it becomes even easier if you have boots as well, but you only need overalls. This is the second boss that you fight in vanilla.
If you have high jump but not overalls, you can do a wall clip to skip this boss, but it's very difficult, just as with the other boss skip that you need to do a dash jump wall clip for, because you need to get, in this case, you need to get the max height, so you have to press left and then right on the same frame, and you cannot pause buffer it because you're in a boss room. And actually, that's a trick that's used in the time attack for this, which is basically getting all 4 keys and then getting to an exit as fast as possible. As it happens, that is the fastest exit if you don't beat the boss and just skip it, but it requires getting that really hard wall clip. And there's, I think, like 3 other wall clips in that time attack, so it's very difficult.
So we found the red key first. We are going to clear out W6. We've got everything we need to do this. Now, we didn't actually need the fire extinguisher because we can use ladder scrolling to unload a fire. But getting the fire extinguisher did kind of help. And it basically made everything to check here infinitely easier to do. Because we already had the rust spray, which unlocks the blue area. But because we have that, we can also access it the other way. Now, that item there is a funny. That was the moon gong. That's normally what unlocks access to S6 blue, and you can normally only access it at night. I'm checking this room because it has 3 potential checks, and we just found our gray key. Ooh, I don't think I can actually get that far. Yeah, I didn't break all the blocks necessary. Oh well. But we
This
are
room is kind of annoying, especially for 100%, but even for all chests, because you have to do golf for it, and it's a big room with a lot of stuff in it. And you're required to do this golf to get a barrel to throw at the key area, and just a lot of stuff to do.
And we got one of the hard difficulty par 3s. But it can be done in 2 shots with 1 level of power less than full, and then a full power shot. No spin needed. Climbing those ledges is faster than using the fence, so that's why it was important. And this time we do want Fat Wario, because he can go right through the vent. And that lets us just go all the way down to the bottom. And because we have the shortcut, thanks to having rust spray, we could just go right to the gray chest. Because of the glitches that are available in vanilla, you can actually prolong getting the gray chest for quite a long time. Now we just got the lantern, which by itself doesn't do anything, but we can, if we find the flame, we will unlock the item, the stage that we got by the crater map, as well as another stage that those 2 items unlock as is. The reason why we're doing S4 is because we can clear out the other 2 chests available here. There we go, we got it.
This fire strat is a little bit tight. As I mentioned earlier, it's just a timer that runs while you're on the ground, and if you jump at the wrong time, or just basically do anything that's not by the script, basically, then you have no idea where you'll end up, and you might run out of fire early and not light all those torches. You need to light all the torches to get past a fire block that's in your way.
Now we saw the green key there, which is not the one we wanted to see. And No, I hate that golf hole, so I'm just gonna say screw that.
Yeah, by pressing select, you can just give up on a golf course, no matter like how far you got in it or whatever. You still like spend those coins, but we have plenty at this point. It's probably fine.
There. Yeah, we still have enough for 6, and some of them have already been taken out of play. So, it's alright. The reason why I did the golf, though, is because I want to get the blue chest. And there are 2 checks next to the blue chest that we can see. Both coins, so that means we really gotta search for it. That's the only problem if you don't find the key in the right spot.
Yeah, so we kind of did that golf for nothing, potentially.
All it really means is that we will have to find the blue key by swimming faster than the currents. And this is a one-way pipe, so we can only go upwards from here in this room.
Yeah, all of these pipes in this area are one way. It's kind of annoying. It forces you to go through the entire thing. But as you'll see, there's some skips that we can do to bypass this owl maze here.
Just damage boost to gain iframes, and then just get it out of the way. Now that spike maze is going to be where the gray key is. So we are going to have to go back into this stage one more time. But we won't have to do the golf this time. And there's our blue chest.
I suppose it is good that we did the golf in the end. If it were me, I would have reset and I guess probably found the blue key and then been annoyed at myself for needing to do the golf another time.
And speaking of that, we just got the valve, which normally is what unlocks access to the right side of E7. But because the only other chest that's available was the red, which requires the golden glove, we know that that is not going to be what we're looking for. So, once again, it's another case of you can safely skip it since the golden glove is the only thing we're looking for. So the items we are looking for right now are the lightning spell. We got the trident much earlier, but we need the lightning spell. Good thing that was a great key. Or the flame. The flame will give us access to 2 stages. So the flame is the more ideal case. But we will take the lightning spell if we find it. And then the gray chest is just all the way across here. So that by itself is quick once you get the key. But getting the key is what matters. And there's our flame.
Nice.
So, this means we head over to East and see if we find E2. E6 and N1. Oh, great. That's what we call just getting teased. And both of them have all 4 chests available, which is even more mayhem. But we are going to do N1 because it usually has the faster checks.
Unless you're doing the blue, which I personally hope we don't have to do. But I guess it could be cool if we could show off the boss skip.
Yeah, it would be nice. Because N1 Blue is usually where you find the final music box in vanilla. There's 2 coins. But you can skip it. And it's actually in merciless logic to skip the fight if you do not have the overalls. Well, it looks like you're gonna get your wish, Soap, because we just found the blue key. So because we can clear out all 4 chests here, we don't care about finding more than 1 key, and we don't care about just looking for other keys. We're gonna try to clear all
there's a coin in this room. You can see all these blocks with donut icons on them. You break them as Fat Wario, and you have to like spend quite a bit of time just falling back down as Donut, and then going all the way back up. But I guess we don't really need the excess information if we're gonna just keep playing the level, so it's fine to not do that right now.
So let's see if I can get this first try. I made a save just in case I messed it up, but I'm not going to need it most likely if I can get this right. And that was a mess up. So I tried to dash, but I was too early in the timing.
Yeah, you have to throw the ball, and then after Wario's like animation cooldown thing, you have to do a dash jump and do a mid-air enemy bounce clip, which basically just means that you store your clip state and then clip into the wall after doing a bounce.
I don't know why it's not working, because I do have the timing right there. The sign that you have the timing right is that when you do the bounce, Wario will be facing left. I'm gonna let it...
There's one frame where you are facing left, but it doesn't work, unfortunately, so it could be either.
And somehow I've managed to get that 3 times in a row.
Bad luck, surely.
There.
This is kind of what happens to a lot of runs if you do go for spider skip, because it's just, you know, you can go for it a lot of times. And yeah, that's a problem with holding up there.
The reason why I do hold up there is because it actually can make it easier to do.
That's true, you have more time to react and press right.
Yep. Okay. 5 times I've managed to be in that wrong frame. Six. Alright. There's a point where you just gotta cut your loss.
Yeah, this is one of those, as I said, kind of just where runs go to die thing. It's at the end of most runs, which is annoying because it saves 45 seconds if you get it first try, and each time you miss it, then you lose quite a few seconds, and eventually you'll just break even with doing the 3-minute boss or whatever, 2-minute boss.
Yeah. I didn't get to fulfill the wish. Sorry, Zelp. I tried.
That's okay. It's more of an accurate rendition of how this game goes, I think.
Oh well. I'll at least be able to do the bounce to a higher platform.
Yeah, it saves like 1 second. It's funny.
Lose a minute, save 1 second. Now, the windbag is kind of funny. Normally, that's 1/2 of what you need to unlock the green chest. But we have access to daytime, and that means we can completely skip needing that.
Yeah, in hard logic, there's a trick, which is also used in the any percent glitchless speedrun of the base game, where you just bounce on these enemies that are there during the day. You just do like some long dash jumps off each platform that you would normally need to like jump over some leaves to bypass. But just with some kind of tight timing, you can do that. And in glitchless, because the method for it doesn't require a glitch, it's allowed, and it allows you to skip 5 chests.
Now the reason why we're heading back into the tree is because we do want to see the item in the basement. As much as how out of the way it is in a different region than the upper section, and in this case it paid off.
Yeah, I'm the kind of person who would procrastinate on this and would go to the red area first, but maybe riskier playstyles are more rewarded here.
And in this case, the gray key was the best case scenario because once we fall out of the tree, we'll be very close to the area that contains the actual gray chest. This is normally the very first chest you get in the game, and is normally what actually contains the axe.
Yeah, the axe is just part of the open mode like set of items that you get, but what it does is it just unlocks the second and third level on the map, and in the case of Randomizer, it allows you to go back to the temple to check your hints, whereas you would be locked out of N1 if you got off the map by using the menu.
Also, I completely neglected to mention that we were also looking for the sky key. The sky key also unlocks the stage, and in this case, it has what we're looking for. So, in this case, we are going through during the day because just this spot is faster during the day. We can go through there at night as well because we have what we need. But we just need to find either the green or the blue key. Now hopefully we can find the green key inside this room. Or I should say these rooms, because it's 3 different rooms that contain 4 different checks. And that's a coin. Oop, careful. There's our blue key. So this means we are going to get the blue chest first. And yeah. I considered going upwards, but I could just outswim the current. And I'm already in the water, so. It's actually possible to use water scrolling to get through there at night if you don't have super flippers. You just need regular flippers and garlic. And this is actually the one case where garlic is used because it extends your dash crouch. Now, the blue chest did not contain what we were looking for, so it has to be on the green. And this means that we just need to make sure that we get all these bears out of the way. And we know that this region can't have the key because we saw the gray key above on the first visit. And there's our green key. So this...
Another possible scenario would be that it's in the room where the red chest is, and because we don't have golden gloves, we have to carry that same rock all the way back to the beginning of the level, and that would be kind of annoying, I think.
Yeah, it is majorly annoying. In vanilla, we could prolong it because of the fact that it's one of the 26 junk items. But there's our golden glove. So this enables us to pick up the big enemies.
And we're not really going to see much of that besides in the final boss, but when this cutscene is over, we can just go right to the temple where we've been getting the hints, and we'll see the final boss. The temple figure who we saw at the very beginning has been evil this whole time and whatnot. And you need to stun his fists with a ground pound, so you need overalls, and you need to pick up his fists, which are counted as heavy enemies.
Time is going to be coming up here pretty shortly, because this is a very quick fight.
Yeah, after this cutscene, it's a pretty quick fight. Oh, I'm gonna skip the cutscene anyway, I forgot. So it's on the 4th hit.
And time.
It flew by pretty quickly, but basically we just wait for the left fist to slam down so we don't get stunned, and we can just recycle the left or the right fist.
So, now that the final boss has been completed, his power disperses, and it restores all the strange beings. And it turns out it's the people of the Music Box world.
So yeah, that's Wario Land 3 Randomizer. Basically, you just get chests until you find what you need to do the final boss, and you hope that you don't get led astray too much. And if you wanted, you could keep going and beating, or like collecting the rest of the chests. There's some people who like to full clear randomizer seeds, but it's not required, I guess.
Yeah. It is worth noting that in vanilla, you actually only need the 5th music box and the golden glove to finish. In a randomizer, that's changed. You actually need to have all 5 music boxes. So that's why we didn't just go right to the end. But this will lead into the credits. And this is the only instance of the song not being randomized. So this is vanilla. But yeah, that is Wario Land 3 Randomizer. And thank you for watching.
Alright, well, thank you two so much for playing and showing off this randomizer. It was actually a fantastic watch, because I played, I think, an older Wario Land, but I had no idea this game was that expansive with what you could do.
Thanks for having us. I like this game a lot. I like all the Wario Land games, honestly. At least all the ones that I played. I haven't played Shake It, but yeah, I'm a Wario fan. I like spreading the love, I guess.
Shoutouts, by the way, go to Aaron Dobb. He is the one that originally developed the randomizer. I was the one who ended up expanding it, and the reason why Merciless is a thing is actually because I ended up coding it in. So, that's something else worth noting. Out of curiosity, what was the final time?
Cosmo clocked it in at 1:47.2.
That's a great time. The times
Yeah,
can
that's
be
about
very...
average for a rando seed. You can clear them in like about an hour, or even less if you get really lucky with chest placement, but often it can take like 2 or 3 hours.
Yeah.
Depending on a lot of
The times can be very wildly varied. I've had
factors.
seeds go as short as 45 minutes and as long as 3 hours. My personal best is 42 minutes and 55 seconds, which is, funnily enough, actually faster than the vanilla any % record.
That is pretty funny.
I actually did. This is actually kind of a curiosity case that I did once, because a seed that I had was actually very quick. It was a race seed. I actually decided to run it a second time and optimize it just to see how low that time was able to go in that seed. And that one actually clocked in under 27 minutes. I only needed to collect like 13 chests.
All right, well, thank you both again so much for running this. It was great to watch. We are going to go ahead and start preparing for Super Monkey Ball Stardust, which is coming up next. It'll be a high score team relay race. So that's going to be very interesting. Feel free to...
It's actually funny because I actually remember watching the stunt goals of that. Spoiler alert. That was a very,